Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's your host Ryan Edwards, and welcome to the Cryptid Chronicles. Here we have a myriad of mysteries, a pure cornucopia of cryptids. And here I'm speaking tonight about one particular cryptid, and one group of cryptids, the Shunka warak'in. The Shunka warak'in. Well, first off, it's a fairly infamous cryptid within the world of cryptozoology. But before that, let me just get to some more house cleaning tips. Well, one thing I want to thank all my subscribers out there. I know I have a little around 20 right now, and I want to thank anyone that's watching this broadcast, and anyone who watches it later. That's you people. It's going to be you guys that really make this podcast. That really make this worth it. Second of all, if you guys can go like, share, subscribe, that'd be great. Go out there and watch my videos and help me with my research. That'd be great. And if anyone out there has any encounters or have had any type of weird experiences, please let me know. In the description below, I'll have my email and my social medias. You guys can reach out to me there and tell me your experience, your encounters. And if you want to be on the show, I'll have you on the show. If you don't and you want to talk to me in just one on one in person, I can totally understand that, and I will have that. You don't need to be on the show if you want to reach out to me. I just want to let you guys know that there. But real quick, let's get into tonight's show. As you can tell, I do not have my co-host tonight, Adolfo. He has things going on with family. Everyone knows how stuff goes on. It's just me tonight, so let's see how well we can do this. Hopefully, I don't make too many bad jokes and you guys just don't leave. So real quick, let's just get into the cryptids and let's get into this particular episode. The Shunka warak'in. Uh, well, the name itself means carries off dogs in the native Iowa tribe's language. This name is pretty much due to the stories of the Shunka warak'in state that it goes into tribal lands, into villages, and kills livestock, primarily canines, which is kind of a peculiar aspect to it. But there's other predators that do that anyway, like cougars, wolves. They go after dogs. Especially wolves go after dogs because they see them as almost like a competition. So that might help with the idea of the Shunkarovki maybe being some type of canine creature or a canine-like creature. And pretty much the history of the Shunkarovki starts with the native Iowa tribe in Montana, Illinois, Iowa, the Midwest. And the basic description of the Shunkarovki is of a hyena-like creature with a long muzzle, uh, sloped back, brown to red fur, long. Its front limbs are longer than its back. So this is very much characteristic of a hyena. The only issue is that hyenas are not indigenous to North America. Well, they once were, but we'll be getting into that a little bit later on. Let me not get ahead of myself here. With it, the one most famous incident with the Shunkawarakeen is a creature called a Rindocus. In 1886, the Hutchins family in Madison River Valley in Montana shot what they supposedly was a Shunkawarakeen. Pretty much the man that shot him, a man named Isaiah Hutchins, he stated this large brown creature was attacking his geese, his farm animals, animals like that. So he shot it and had it stuffed at a local area. Local taxidermist stuffed the animal, and there's photos of this particular creature until today. Like, if you Google Shunkarawaki, most likely the first image would be of a creature, probably in black and white, uh, longer legs. Kind of looks kind of like a mix of a hyena and a cat and like a wolf, which is what a lot of people believe this creature is. But with the Rindocus particular specimen, there's no DNA evidence for it. We have it back in the late 1800s to the late 1900s. This particular creature went missing. The Rindocus specimen went missing until researchers like Mark A. Hall brought the attention to Rindocus to the public thanks to sightings of a Shankarao or hyena-like creatures in Iowa, Illinois, and Maine. Some even correlate this cryptid to a particular creature called the Maine mutant. The Maine mutant, back in 2004, was seen in Maine, places like Turner, Maine, outside Portland. And this Maine mutant was described as like a canine hyena mix. So people started calling this creature like the Maine mutant or maybe even the Shunka warak'in. The main researcher that has done a lot of research into the Shunka warak'in is Lauren Coleman. Lauren Coleman, if you know anything about cryptozoology and cryptozoologists, you probably know that name. He's a curator to the International Cryptozoology Museum up in Portland, Maine. He's done a lot of research into cryptozoology ever since the '60s. So he's a encyclopedia of cryptozoology and cryptids themselves. And he believes the Rindocus might be some type of prehistoric hyena. So let's kind of get into the ideas of what the Shunka warak'in is. Sorry, guys, I will be coughing. I'm getting over a cold. Sorry about that. There's a couple of theories, but the main theory is that it's some type of ancient hyena. And of course, nowadays there are no indigenous hyenas in North America, but there was one. There once were. Back in the Pleistocene and Pliocene, about 4.9 to 800,000 years ago, there was a species called Chasmoetites. Chasmoetites, or the running hyena, was found throughout the southeast, the southwest, and even the Midwest, even up to Alaska. This running hyena was mostly found in open areas. It was kind of a think of it as almost like a modern day wolf. It was a lot different than a modern day hyena. Some people will even believe it wasn't a bone crusher like the modern day hyena. The modern day hyenas are what you call duophagus. Duophagus pretty much means bone crushers. Or it can crush like hard shells, crush bamboo, things like that. Like pandas, hyenas are duophagus. The Chasmoetites, we believe, wasn't, due to the fact that its canines weren't as robust as modern day hyenas, making most researchers believe it was some type of hybrid carnivore, like a modern day big cats, like lions, tigers, things like that. And the Chasmoetites was known as the running hyena because it's found in open environments, grasslands, areas of shrubland, places where trees and things like that just wasn't found. So this creature most likely ran after its prey. Like modern day big cats and canines have two very different ways of hunting. Big cats are ambush predators. They wait until they see their quarry up close and then they chase after it after a small spurt of speed. Except for the cheetah. The cheetah does a long distance running. Modern day canines are the opposite. They are not very much prowling until the prey gets close. They are long distance runners. Look at modern day wolves. Researchers in Yellowstone have done years and years of researching how these wolves will chase after elk for hours and hours and wait until the prey just pretty much get too tired to fight back, and that's when they jump on it. Most likely, it's possibility Chasmoetites did the same type of hunting. Long distance, long term hunting of prey items at that time. Like there was antelope indigenous to North America, there was camelids, equids, different types of species. So it's a possibility that this Junka warak'in might be some type of living Chasmoetites or some type of other hyena that's indigenous to North America. Another correlation that people have made is with another hypercarnivore known as the Boophagidae. The Boophagidae, or the bone crushing dogs, were a type of canine found in prehistoric North America from about 36 to 2.5 million years ago. Me personally, I don't really have a lot of correlations with the Boophagidae and Chesmo and like the modern day Shunka warak'in simply due to the morphology. The Boophagidae were more canine like, but they had shorter muzzles, almost like think of a pit bull but on steroids. This is pretty much what these creatures looked like. These Shunka warak'in and other hyena sightings describe us something totally different. They describe more hyena-like creatures. And with these hyena-like creatures, you gotta think, okay, maybe they are escapees from a local area, maybe like a private collector or a zoo or a circus. The issue with that is that a lot of times when people have these sightings, they talk to the locals and they don't have any type of missing hyena at a zoo or something like that. And hopefully they don't get many hyenas missing in the first place because that'd be kind of an issue. But there's always a possibility that maybe these Shunka warak'in sightings are escaped hyenas. But again, if you look at the original descriptions of Shunka warak'in, it's from Native American stories before white settlers even entered North America. So how could they be talking about some type of escapee, like a escape the hyena? It's very unlikely. But would it? It's possible that maybe these Chasmolepethes or little nugget type of creature that we have not found yet is what we call now as a Shunka warak'in. Actually, recently there's been a correlation with the Shunka warak'in and another type of cryptid, the dogman phenomenon. With researchers of the dogman phenomena, they look into and they believe there's different, well, types of dogman. And one, the type two, pretty much people describe saying upright canine, upright hyena-like creatures. Supposedly, the beast of the LBL is very hyena-like. Other researchers down here in Texas have reported dogman sightings that have shoulder muzzles, maybe even spots like similar to a hyena. And this might even correlate to another mythology over in Africa. There are stories of were hyenas. But with these are hyenas that can turn into men or turn into another hyena human cross. Almost like a modern, almost like a werewolf. But these canine, with these hyena like dogmen, some people correlate these to Shunka warak'in or other unknown hyena like canines seen around the globe and especially here in North America. Me personally, I do not really make that correlation due to the fact that you're trying to solve one mystery with another. You're trying to correlate two cryptids that might not have correlation in the first place. It's like trying to say, okay, due to that these are both mysterious, they must correlate. It's like saying UFOs and ghosts must correlate because they're both unknown. That's just a kind of a phallic way of thinking. It's very illogical. But then again, cryptozoology is illogical in the first place. We're literally hunting for unknown species. And with these hyena-like creatures, it doesn't just go into just the Shunka warak'in. There's hyena sightings all around in North America. Actually, down here in Texas as well. But some of the main major sightings that I've researched and happened, some of the earliest ones happened in the night back in the 1800s up in Montana, in Illinois, in Iowa. People reported having cattle, sheep, goats, things like that being killed off by some like large canine creature. But when witnesses saw this creature, they said it had a sloped back. But of course, canines don't have that type of feature. That's more of like a hyena-like animal. So people started reporting like almost like a prairie hyena. Some people would call these creatures because they were these things didn't look like wolves. They didn't look like coyotes. They didn't look like foxes. So the only thing people could really describe them as are hyenas. And hyena sightings have a strong history here in North America. Back in 1991 in the Alberta Wildlife Park in Alberta, Canada, there were sightings of a hyena-like creature roaming the property. And the wildlife park was like almost like a safari park. They had moose, camels, different like exotic animals, but they didn't have any hyenas on property. So if people were seeing something about a hyena, it doesn't really make sense. That means it's some type of maybe an indigenous species, or maybe not exotic escapee during these particular sightings. One sighting that I heard about from my friend up in Austin back in the 1990s in Odessa, Texas. There were what we call flap of sightings, a bunch of sightings happening all at once. Up in Odessa, Texas, out in the what we call the Permian Basin of Texas, there were hyena-like creatures out there, and a bunch of oilmen started seeing them. One particular story: these oilmen are leaving, I believe, from a bar at night, and they're about to go home. Go in a pickup truck. And all of a sudden, this large hyena-like creature runs out of nowhere and attacks the truck. So when they saw this animal, they're like, "Wait, that's not a hog. That's not a wolf. That's not some type of unknown. That's not some type of wild dog. It looked like a hyena. It looked like a creature with a slope back. Some even report having spots, like spotted hyena. But it's very peculiar with these sightings. Also, in 2005 in Montana, there were sightings of a hyena attacking livestock, and there were even multiple killings of local goats and cows. And of course, to take down a cow, you got to be a large predator. You're not going to be a coyote-sized animal taking down a cow. So with this, people started reported having like let's just say it's a hyena. People started reporting. Uh, the descriptions of these sightings were kind of mixed. Some reported like almost like a spotted hyena, like the hyena we all see in the cartoons that laughs, that does a little like if you watch like the Lion King, things like that, those types of animals. Others reported the brown hyena. The brown hyena is another species, but it has a brown coat and it has long fur. Very similar to the fur of like what people describe as Shunka warak'in, long brown fur, so hence the name. And then I know one thing I've heard of from reports of other cryptozoologists. This is in 2008. A man was driving in Illinois, and he had a road crossing sign. He had a large quadrupedal animal cross his path on his road, and pretty much what they described was uh, some type of creature, quadrupedal, looked bigger than a wolf, bigger than a dog, but with a sloped back, very similar to a hyena. Then, even in 2016, more recent times, in the Hockomock Swamp in Massachusetts, uh, police reported seeing a large hyena-like creature. A lot of local police department thought it was actually some type of exotic escapee. But the Hockomock Swamp, if anyone's done any type of research into paranormal here in North America, they might have heard of the Hockomock Swamp before. I might go into detail with it. I might right now because with the Hockomock Swamp, there's all other types of occurrences happening around there. There's UFO sightings, other cryptid sightings, paranormal events. So maybe this hyena has some type of correlation, or maybe it's just a cryptid, or just another cryptid that's found in that area. One of the most recent American hyena sightings occurred in 2019 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. A couple believe hikers out in the area reported seeing some type of hyena-like creature or even a pack of hyena-like creatures in the area. They reported large animals with canine-like heads, a sloped back, and a large body. This is almost exactly the description of the Shunka warak'in. So we have to ask: are hyenas somewhere in North America? Are they surviving into the modern day? Then we have to ask ourselves: are these some type of prehistoric survivor, or are they some type of maybe exotic escapee? We have known from the past exotic animals when they're brought here they can escape. Look at the pythons in Florida. Look at sightings of big cats around North America. Even I know there's even sightings of tigers out in Oklahoma thanks to certain zooexotics part up there. There's sightings of like tigers and pumas and things like that. So our hyenas is another animal we have to worry about on the scale of North America as another predator out there. So we have to kind of look at the ecology of North America. Does the hyena fit? There's a possibility it could, but with it being possibly Chasmolothites, it would have a very similar ecological niche to like wolves. If these things aren't scavengers, aren't bone crushers, then they will be going after the same prey as like wolves and coyotes. And with that, we have no idea if they would become competing with other animals that are indigenous to the area or if they wouldn't. Most likely they would. So we gotta look at other like a possibly exotic hyenas. If we look at the modern day spotted hyena, Quaculta quaculta, it's what most people believe it is a scavenger, but that's very a misconception of these animals. Hyenas are predators. They hunt their prey more than they really just go find dead animals and steal from other animals. They live in large clans. They Clans can get up to even 30 individuals. They are not lone animals, and if they are there, it's very rare that you see a lone hyena. But with these sightings, people report seeing only like one or maybe even a couple, maybe one or two at one time. So we have to wonder if these are hyenas. Maybe if they're not indigenous, maybe only one or two exotic ones have escaped. Then we have to consider the indigenous tribes, like the legends of the Shunka warak'in, the carry off of dogs. With the Shunka warak'in, this is a pretty much an ancient story, a story from before white settlers entered North America. How can there be some type of exotic escapee at that point? So we have to consider then if this is some type of living prehistoric creature, like the Chasmotites or maybe even the bullfrog. But one issue I do have with the Shunka warak'in is the head. Let me go into detail with that. If you look at the picture of this Rindocus specimen, which is supposedly a Shunka warak'in, it has very long muzzle, similar to like a wolf or a coyote. With hyenas, you don't have that. Hyenas have a shorter muzzle. With a shorter muzzle, it gives it more leverage to break bones and break harder objects. With canines, they have a longer muzzle for more precision bite, but they don't have a stronger bite force. So with this Rendocus specimen, it shows a long muzzle, which is a characteristic of a canine, not exactly a characteristic of a hyena. And with that, we have to wonder it can't be a hybridization of hyena and wolf. We simply know due to the fact they're not closely related. Even though a lot of people believe, even I did it when I was a little kid, hyenas are canines, they are not. They're part of they're more closely related to ferrets and civets. They're more closely related to actually the uh, cat side of carnivore than the canine side. So some type of crossbreeding or hybridization just cannot occur. But then we have to consider also if maybe it is some type of Chasmotites. Chasmotites did have a little bit of a longer muzzle. That's why a lot of people believe it didn't crush bones due to the fact that it probably didn't have the bite force to do so. And if these creatures did survive into recorded history into the modern day, are they still around today? There are still sporadic sightings in Montana and Iowa. Uh, like what I said, there's been sightings in 2019, 2016, back in 2005. But this is mostly in the eastern seaboard. Eastern areas, pretty much north of Texas. But even here in Texas, we have a lot of like hyena-like creatures seen around here, especially in the desert lands of western Texas, like in Odessa, Abilene, these areas, the Permian Basin. And these environments are actually perfect with what we would think about the running hyena. The running hyena likes open areas, probably lived in small packs, if any. Some have even speculated it might have been a lone animal. And with modern day sightings, this almost correlates exactly. Animal with open areas looks almost more canine like than uh, like a hyena. So we have to wonder if this creature is out there still. If maybe the Jasmine TTs has survived to the modern day. And if it has, that's not the only prehistoric survivor supposedly on the North American landscape. People also report having like the bone crushing dogs, the Wahila cryptid up in Alaska, other creatures like that. So we have to think maybe these hyenas are out there in North America. Like I have not received reports myself of them, but I've had colleagues and other people that I trust have reports of like hyenas and hyena-like creatures all around the United States. And in Texas, there is that strong history of reports up in Abilene and Odessa of people seeing almost like packs of hyenas running around. And you have to think that is a perfect environment for a hyena, so it could be. You never know. That's the thing with cryptozoology is that it's a lot of questions, but not always the best answers. So with it, we always have to question, well, what are these creatures? Are people seeing hyenas? Are people seeing maybe even ancient hyenas like Jaspertites, or maybe even Robolophagidae? We never know. And with the Rindocus specimen, that might be one of our best ideas of what these creatures look like. Modern, I believe today, the Rindocus or the supposed Shunka warak'in can be found in a particular taxidermy collection up in Montana. I forget exactly where. When I have the information, I'll probably put it down in the description. Sorry about that, people. So we have to wonder and think, okay, with the Shunka warak'in, does it correlate to these modern day hyena sightings? Yes, they have very similar morphologies, very similar uh, witness accounts. So it might be that they are the same creature. Just that the Shunka warak'in was like the old name for them. It's like think of it like the Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Sasquatch is the Native American name for the Bigfoot phenomena, and the modern day sightings everyone calls them just Bigfoot. So the American hyena is a modern day name for these creatures because they look very similar to hyenas, and Chunka warak'in is the old name, Native American name we had for these creatures. And we have, and that's just the thing with these creatures is that we do have to also consider the possible dogman correlation. With these type 2 dogmen, they are reportedly more hyena like. Shorter muzzles, smaller heads, more robust like jaws and canines, very similar to a hyena, spotted coats even. All these dogmen may be the same creature as the Shunkarovki. Me personally, I don't believe they are, but it could be a correlation within the morphology of them. We never know. And one thing that with me that kind of disproves the correlation between like the dogman and the Shunkarovki is just pretty much the leg stroke, the back legs. It's like if you put a person on their back legs, you can clearly tell that we are meant for bipedal walking. We have longer legs and more robust legs. And with these dogmen, supposedly, they have very human-like legs. So I would expect if you saw one on its all fours, you would possibly think, okay, that creature looks like it's meant for bipedal walking. Not like it will maybe almost look similar to like a person crawling on all fours. It just looks unnatural. And with these witnesses of the Shunkawaraki, they report it looks natural on all fours. It doesn't look like a person walking on all fours or like it looks like just like a regular fox or a regular wolf. So when this whole correlation between dogman phenomena and Shunkawaraki, it's very unlikely in my mind. But it's just it could be, but I don't believe it is. But with these hyena-like sightings, hyena sightings, hyena-like creatures being seen in North America, I'd be very interested to hear from other researchers or even eyewitnesses out there of these animals. Like, I kind of want to see what people are truly seeing. People are reported like hyena-like creatures, but hyena-like, most people suspect it to be correlating to the spotted hyena. But there are other species of hyenas and hyena-like animals. We have the brown hyena, the striped hyena. You have even have the aardwolf. Aardwolves are very strange creatures in and of themselves. They're more like dog. They're more dog-like than hyena-like. The striped hyena it has a longer coat, uh, gray and black stripes down its haunches. With the brown hyena, it's larger, has a brown coat, and these creatures are, of course, all found in Africa. And with that, how did they find their way here to North America? Of course, we did have ancient hyena species were found all across the globe. For instance, take in the cave hyena of the Pleistocene epoch. These cave hyenas were hyenas found in like Europe, Asia. They hadn't got over to North America. At least in the fossil record, we have no evidence of them getting to North America. But it's a possibility maybe they have, because these cave hyenas were very similar to the modern day spotted hyena. They were about the size of a large wolf, maybe a bit longer fur. We don't know if they had spots or not, due to the fact that we don't really have any cave paintings of spotted of these ancient hyenas. And if these creatures did survive into the modern day, maybe these are what we're seeing nowadays as the Shunka warak'in. But with me personally, the creature I would correlate the most to the Shunka warak'in and other hyena-like sightings around North America is like the brown hyena or the spotted hyena, due to the fact that it does have longer fur on its back. And if you look at pictures of the Shunka warak'in, it shows longer fur on the back haunches and almost like brown fur. This is very similar to like the brown hyena. Spotted hyenas have an even amount of fur across the body. It doesn't have any longer patches of fur or anything like that. With the Shunka warak'in, there is a longer patch of fur along the back and even along the neck, almost like a ruff. So, would it could maybe Isaiah Hutchins have shot some type of exotic pet or exotic escapee back in 1886? It's a possibility, but I would believe if this was an exotic animal, sooner or later, when people looked at the body or looked at the taxidermy of this creature, they would have stated, okay, this is just some type of hyena. No one really has come forward and said, okay, this is a known species. This is a known canine or known hyena species. Geez, if I had a $1 for every time I said hyena in this episode, that'd be really helpful. But with it, these hyena sightings, like $1 right there. With these hyena sightings, we have to consider the descriptions of them. Right? They do report sloped backs, larger heads, longer legs than the back legs, which is a very hyena-like trait. Uh, Arched backs, like a hump almost on the back, which some people report seeing, which is a very another hyena-like trait. So with these hyenas that are seen in North America, they could some at least with the modern day sightings, I believe, could be escapees from local exotic pet owners, maybe even zoos, circuses, things like that. Because some there have been in the time in history, circuses have lost animals and have not put it down on the books, simply due to the fact that it just looks bad on them, and especially with exotic pet owners. Exotic pet trade in and of itself is a kind of a shady dealing in and of itself. So if someone were to lose a hyena, they probably wouldn't tell anyone. Well, most likely they wouldn't tell anyone. But then again, I'm not an exotic pet owner, so I have no really idea to know if someone would or not. So with it, maybe this is escapees, the sightings here in Texas. The exotic pet trade is actually very common here in Texas. I remember a couple of years ago, the statistics said there were more tigers here in Texas than there were in all of India. That's tigers, but also hyenas are also another very common exotic pet. Heck, just look at Harley Quinn in the DC universe. She loves hyenas. You never know. It could some maybe people just like Harley Quinn out there just like hyenas. They are a really cool animal to look at. They're they're very prehistoric if you look at hyenas. They're not like anything else that we have nowadays. They're both uh, like canines, but they also have like almost feline-like characteristics. So they're very just cool animals to know in the first place. Their bite strength is so strong they can bite almost through metal at points. And these are some very feared animals in Africa and parts of India and parts of the Middle East. The hyena is actually seen as almost like a mythic figure in some parts of Ethiopia. They have like the were hyena legend I was talking about earlier. With these were hyenas, supposedly they correlate to like wanderers or travelers, and that these people can turn themselves into hyenas or hyena-like monsters. Think of it almost like a werewolf, but instead of a werewolf, it's a were hyena. Kind of a interesting cryptid when you think about it, because then we have the hyena-like dogman seen here in North America. Is there a correlation? Maybe, maybe not. It's just funny how people are seeing very similar creatures in two totally different spots of the world. And with it, like we do have other were creatures within mythology. You have like were jaguars in the South America. You have were cats in North America. Maybe these were hyenas also mixed in with that. Maybe are they all some type of correlation to Dogman? Because some people believe werewolf correlates to like maybe ancient signs of Dogman. Maybe the were hyena is some type of correlation to like people saying upright walking hyenas. You never know. And with these signs of hyenas in North America, I do believe maybe some of them could be these like type 2 dogmen that are more hyena like. It could be that some of these are uh, maybe them walking on all fours. Like some people will report seeing dogmen walking on all fours and they just look like regular wolves until they stand up. Possibility these creatures will look like just regular hyenas until they stand up. But if you look at like the Shunka warak'in and Rhinodocus, it's not a bipedal creature, it's a quadruped. So I believe this is totally different from the whole type 2 dogman phenomena. These could be some type of prehistoric survivor, like the Chasmodotites. That's what my beliefs are, is that the Chasmodotites has survived into the modern day, or maybe is has died out in recent years, but is very uncommon. It's very rare. That's why I believe these hyena sightings are they're not exactly occurring every day. They're not like Bigfoot sightings or UFO sightings. They're very rare. They happen maybe every couple of years. Even though there are maybe eyewitnesses out there that just haven't come through and talked to researchers like myself. So, if you are eyewitness to any type of hyena-like creature, please just let me know, or heck, any type of unknown creature. Yeah, but with it, maybe some of these correlations are to the hyena-like dogman, but I believe, yeah, with the Shunka warak'in, it is most likely maybe chestnut TTs. We don't really know for sure, even though we do have the Rindocus specimen. We have a physical example to look at for this creature. But it's simply that we have taken DNA evidence and there's no DNA to grab because it's just so old. Due to it being so old, the DNA degrades, so we can't get a sample. Uh, which is terrible because it would be DNA evidence. If we took DNA evidence and shows, hey, hyena like, then we know okay, this creature can't be an indigenous species due to the fact that there are no indigenous hyenas in North America. So pretty much to conclude this, the hyenas seen in modern day North America most likely could be exotics, escapees, things like that. But with the older sightings, like with the Shunka warak'in, main mutant, and other animals like that, these could be surviving prehistoric creatures like the Chasmodotites, or even maybe even correlate to other unknown cryptid canines seen around the world, like Beasts of Avalon, the Wahila, the Amarok, all these other peculiar canines seen across, especially here in North America. I talk about them with cryptid canines, animals that are different from the whole dogman phenomena, but very unknown, more robust. I know even Linda Godfrey talks about them in her books, and she calls them dire dogs because they might correlate to the dire wolf. That's also another candidate people talk about for the Shunka warak'in is the dire wolf. Dire wolf, of course, basic information is it's a prehistoric canine, not a wolf actually. Genetic testing has shown that it's unrelated to modern day Canis lupus. It's the modern day Latin name for the direwolf is Aeronocyon dirus. It was Canis dirus, but it's proven recently that it's not a wolf at all. So the description of the direwolf might have changed. A lot of reconstructions of the direwolf pretty much just shows a large gray wolf, a large timber wolf. More modern day references shows maybe more similar to like a dingo or a dole. It's a possibility maybe they would look very similar to what we see as the Shunka warak'in. But the main issue is still true. Canines don't have a sloped back; they have a straight back, which shows a more running induced creature. The Shunka warak'in sightings have a sloped back creature. So the possible direwolf correlation, it's very unlikely just simply due to they don't look similar. So pretty much to finally conclude this. Sorry about that, people. You know me, I like to talk. The Shunka warak'in is a creature that might be still around into the modern day. These modern day hyena sightings in like Texas, Maine, Montana, Illinois, Iowa might correlate to the Shunka warak'in, or they might not. Maybe the modern day sightings are escaped hyenas or another type of animal that has found its way in North America. But the older Shunka warak'in sightings are most likely maybe something like the running hyena of prehistoric North America. This creature only went extinct 800,000 years ago. Maybe it has found its way into the. Maybe it has survived and found its way into the modern day and has modern day sightings. With the hyena-like dogman correlation, most likely this isn't the Shunka warak'in, but there are reports of like hyena-like dogman. I believe that's a totally different phenomena, but maybe some of these modern day hyena sightings are of these creatures. So pretty much that's the story of the Shunka warak'in and the American hyena. I hope you guys had a nice night, had a nice time watching this. I know I'm kind of a rambler. I'm not the most expert orator. I tried my best. I try to keep it entertaining, try to keep it fun, but also educational. But I know I can probably get too much in the education side and kind of keep it more. I'm kind of a stick in the mud. I know that. Sorry that my co-host tonight was not able to be here, but I'll make sure that he is here next week. And with it, I do possibly have a guest lined up for next week. I will let you guys know that once I get the news and have it for sure. I'll let you guys know who that person will be. So remember, everyone, like this video. If you want to subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Any type of support like that really helps me out. Really shows me that I should keep going on with this. I know we're just starting off. The production value is not the best. The me talking is not the best because I'm just getting into this. Hopefully, if you guys want to share your ideas, like let's just say, Ryan, you ramble a little too much. I totally understand. Let me know if I maybe talk a little bit too much. I do talk a little bit too much. I know that. But anything like that, please let me know. Share your ideas. Share your opinions. So, like, if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. I really appreciate any support you have for my channel, for my research, and for me. Put down in the comments like your ideas. If you guys have ideas for future episodes, please put that down because I have a couple, but you guys are the viewers. You guys are the subscribers. I really want to hear your ideas, your thoughts. So like, share, subscribe. Make sure you click that notification bell. Make sure you get notified because from now on, for the next couple of months, it'll probably be this live style of chatting because I do like the ability of you guys to be able to put in the comments and be able to talk to me live. That's great because I want to try to interact with you guys. You guys are the fans. I want to interact with you guys, talk to you guys live. That'd be awesome. So with it was a great night tonight. Remember, guys, it's a strange world out there. So never stop exploring because you never know. You guys might be the people that make the new next discovery. The woods, there are monsters out there. If you look at the sky, there's creatures that fly up there that we never know about. There are lake monsters. There are creatures out there that science might never describe. So remember, like, share, subscribe. Have a nice night, everyone. And hopefully, let's keep this going. Good night, everyone. And welcome to the Cryptid Chronicles.